How six sensories can let go of their relationships after they've broken up, whether it's with a narcissist or a healthy person. So the differences between narcissistic previous intimate relationships and healthy previous relationships is that you've been blinded in a narcissistic relationship as to how bad it was. And both are challenging breakups in different ways. So when you're blind to how bad the previous relationship was and you're broken up, you're kind of deluded into thinking that my relationship was so amazing, how could it have ended when there were a million red flags? On the other hand, you're also left with the same question when you've been broken up with in a healthy relationship because it was healthy. And again, you're wondering, we had no fights, we had no problems. Why did this relationship end? And you're not quite sure. Now, you can go back eventually at some point and kind of learn your life lessons from your previous relationships after you've broken up, but I don't recommend doing that when the breakup is fresh, because the more you think about the previous relationship, the more you're keeping that old connection and that old flame alive, and that's not a good thing for your healing. And so you probably want to put the life lessons on the back burner for the time being and come back to it when you're ready to dig into it, when you've successfully moved on into another relationship or you're in a very happy place in life. That's the time when you can go back and kind of dig up the past and see if there's any learning that you missed from your past. But when it's too fresh, it's more important to focus on doing the right steps to move on first. The first step to moving on is to let go of the need for any kind of closure. If the breakup was confusing, which it often is with a narcissist, because they gaslight you and they tell you reasons why that don't make sense, that they're doing the things that they're doing, you're never going to get a really conclusive answer as to why the relationship ended. You'll just be on this endless loop where you're wondering, and again, that's keeping the connection alive, that's keeping the flame alive, and you don't want to do that. Of course, we all have feelings. We're all going to remember things from time to time, especially after we've freshly broken up. We'll get triggered by something and we'll remember something about our ex, a good time, a good moment, and it's okay to have those rosy feelings from time to time. They're completely normal, just as long as you understand A, you're not crazy for having these feelings, but B, you don't want to chase after the feelings either. It's like you're meditating. When you have a thought go by, you just let it go by. And it's the same with the memories of your ex after you've freshly broken up. It's normal to have thoughts, to remember good times, but let them go, whether the relationship was narcissistic or healthy. And I'll get into the differences now with the questions that you may ask at the end of the relationship. So in both cases, it's going to hold you back, but they hold you back in slightly different ways. When you're trying to figure out the narcissist, you're probably going to get really, really confused because narcissism runs really deep in a person and they cover it up very well. And it's going to take a long time to dig and figure out all the millions of ways that they were a narcissist. The most important point when you're getting over them is to just get over them first and don't worry about asking even whether or not they're a narcissist. But if the question comes to mind, I think there's a good chance that they are a narcissist, but you just may have not discovered all of the ways in how they show up as a narcissist, but that's okay. You don't have to know everything about a narcissist to move on from one. And in fact, if you watch too much about narcissists and try to learn them when you're still in that process of early phases of healing, then you may actually shoot yourself in the foot. You may actually take longer to heal because you're keeping the thoughts of that person alive by really studying and digging into narcissism in the process of when you're healing. Again, wait until later. Wait until you're in a good place to learn about narcissism. Then absolutely do the homework and do the research to make sure it doesn't happen again. But you need to get into a good place emotionally and heal emotionally first before you dig into the research about what is narcissistic behavior. Now, if you're in a healthy relationship, both are challenging because healthy relationships can also be confusing when you break up because it's like we didn't fight, we had no arguments, we had no nagging, things were always good, so why did we break up? And that, again, is an endless loop. It's very hard to know why. And if you chase after even a healthy relationship, trying to figure out the reasons why, even Healthy people still might not be 100% healthy. Maybe they were capable of having a healthy relationship at that point in their lives, but they still may have traumas that they haven't completely healed, and they may not be even 100% aware of the reasons that they're breaking up with you. Maybe they blamed it on a superficial reason, and that's a bit of a red flag in itself, even though the past may have been very healthy, but maybe they couldn't really even articulate the real reasons why they wanted to break up. And you don't want to go digging for that, because again, you're keeping the connection alive, and you're also looking needy when you're going around trying to get reasons why they broke up with you when you're going to your last partner, which is going to screw things up even more. Either way, the best thing you can do, whether they're a narcissist or a previously healthy partner, is to just leave them alone. Don't ask any questions, don't need to know why. Just take a break from that conversation. If it comes up in your mind, that's normal. You just say, I don't know about this. Maybe I'll understand in 10 years. And give that as a reason to your mind that this happened, and maybe you will eventually go back and figure out why. But let it have some space and let it breathe for a while before you go digging for the answers. The next phase of breaking up is to understand that your inner child is hurt. Your inner child thought they had a safe person that they could be with, and now you have to kind of train yourself into being safe with other people and connecting with new people or with other people in your life, such as your friends and family. And that's why it's so important when you're in a relationship to keep those relationships going. I know it can feel like hard work when you're like engaging in so many relationships, but if something were to happen to your intimate relationship, then you have other relationships that you can go to for nurturing and for love. Because the ultimate love that can heal our inner child comes from ourselves, absolutely. Having said that, we can spend so much time on our own, and then our mind goes into rabbit holes sometimes thinking about the past. And so it's good to have a break and go to friends and family to hang out with them and spend time with them in a happy place. So you're not constantly thinking about, oh, this person from the past. Like, if you can spend time alone and be happy and nurture yourself and practice self-love, then that's amazing. However, that can be really hard to have the discipline to do that, especially freshly out of a breakup. So it's good to hang out with safe people that you know. This may not be the right time yet to go meeting new people, new intimate relationships, although that will come. You don't want to do that too fast when you're in the throes of healing emotionally, because you may not be ready and you may pick the wrong person or do the wrong thing. But let's say you start dating anyway. Even if that happens and you make a mistake, just understand that it's a mistake and move on. Like, at some point when we'll have to get back into dating, and then when you get back into dating, you are likely to make mistakes at the beginning. That's also true. So you can really only tell for yourself what that timeline is going to look like when you're ready to start meeting new people, and also just have a lot of patience with yourself if you do make mistakes when you're first dating, because it's easy to do when you're coming from a vulnerable place. But get as strong and as healed as possible until you feel really ready to get back into the dating game. My next step for healing that's very important is to understand that we all go through phases in life that are challenging. Every single one of us has our traumas and has our difficult chapters in our life to deal with, no matter how successful we become, or if we become somebody who shares with other people online, or we write books. We all have our stuff to deal with, and even the most famous authors out there have their own life lessons that they need to tackle, and they do so in ways that really can be big. When we grow and we become writers and we start sharing with other people, sometimes the waves of our life actually become bigger. The challenges get worse. And yes, you have more money and resources to deal with the big waves. Having said that, God gives you what you can handle, I guess. So as you become more successful, you may get bigger challenges. It's very often that happens. So don't be surprised if you really successfully get over a breakup, that you have another challenge in your life. Even if you successfully marry somebody or find the right partner, you may get a challenge from another angle in life, because that's just how spirit works. When you get over one life lesson, sometimes they test you to make sure that you're over that initial life lesson, and then if you are, then sometimes they'll give you bigger life lessons, because it helps you become a better teacher to help other people with their life lessons. So that's why that whole cycle happens. But again, it's all about having that supportive network, healing yourself, And don't obsess when bad things happen and keep asking the why loop. That's like an endless thought loop that keeps that bad event in your life over and over and over again. And whether the person truly was toxic or they weren't, when you're engaging in those thoughts, it's a toxic pattern either way. So you have to get over people in kind of the same way. The difference between narcissists and healthy people is you have to kind of analyze and go back at some point. What mistakes did I make, especially before getting into your next serious relationship, just to make sure you don't put yourself through that kind of pain again. And we've all been there. We all have healthy relationships. We all had really bad relationships, most of us, and we all have to learn our life lessons from them. And there are times when we're so depressed after we've gotten over a breakup that we really can't do anything. We don't exercise the same way. We don't cook food for ourselves. We can't go to work, or we can't leave the house. Hopefully it's not that bad, but it can be bad. What you need to do when you're having those difficult moments is just start really small. Maybe getting out of bed and showering is your goal of the day. Maybe getting up and cooking a healthy meal is your goal for the day, so you feel good about yourself and you're not eating junk. Maybe the goal of the day is simply to make time to see a friend. Start with small things and build your way back up to your normal everyday life. If you're feeling really sad and really debilitated from the things that have happened, it can sometimes take time to return to normal, and that's okay. And then my final piece of advice is when you are in a relatively normal state and you're getting over a past breakup, is that you want to start working towards bigger goals. You start with the small ones, getting out of bed, and then go for something bigger, like writing your book or putting content out on social media. Or maybe it's just finishing a university degree or working more often to earn more money to save for something that's important to you. Whatever it is, set those goals that are important to you and choose the ones that really connect with your heart, also the ones that you really feel and you really want the most. Sometimes we don't achieve goals because they're kind of artificial and in our head, and somebody else told us to do these goals. For example, artificial goals might be like, oh, you have to buy a house in life, and that's other people's expectations, but that's not your genuine heart's desire. And if it's not your genuine heart's desire, it's probably not the best goal to go with. You want to pick something else that's meaningful to you. The most meaningful goals come from our true heart and from our inner selves, not from other people's expectations. So go for those and live your life the way that you've always wanted to live it. And that will be the ultimate healing from a breakup.